Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Hello, Catholic pilgrims, and welcome to day 258 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. Today we are going to see Sister Faustina gets a new job. She's going to move from the garden to monitoring the gate. We'll talk about what that means. But also today, she is just treated really badly by several of the sisters in her convent. And so what we're going to talk about is how we treat people when we're doing our job. Now, job can mean like actual go to a business or even our job at home, helping our family and even our spouses. So that's what we're going to talk about today in Notebook 4, numbers 1266 through 1271. August 5th, 1937. The Lord let me know how much our dear Mother Superior Irene is defending me against, not only by prayer, but also by deed. Thank you, Jesus, for this grace. It will not go unrequited in my heart. When I am with Jesus, I do not forget about her. September 6th, 1937. Today I begin a new assignment. I go from the garden to the desert of the gate. I went in to talk to the Lord for a while. I asked him for a blessing and for graces to faithfully carry out the duties entrusted to me. I heard these words. My daughter, I am always with you. I have given you the opportunity to practice deeds of mercy which you will perform according to obedience. You will give me much pleasure if, each evening, you will speak to me especially about this task. I felt that Jesus had given me a new grace in relation to my new duties, but despite this, I have walked myself deeper in his heart. Today, I felt more ill, but Jesus has given me many more opportunities on this day to practice virtue. It so happened that I was busier than usual, and the sister in charge of the kitchen made it clear to me how irritated she was that I had come late for dinner, although it was quite impossible for me to have come sooner. At any rate, I felt so unwell that I had to ask Mother Superior to allow me to lie down. I went to ask Sister N to take my place, and again I got a scolding. What is this, sister? You're so exhausted that you're going back to bed again? Confound you with all this lying in bed. I put up with all that, but that wasn't the end. I still had to ask the sister who was in charge of the sick to bring me my meal. When I told her this, she burst out of the chapel into the corridor after me to give me a piece of her mind. Why on earth are you going back to bed, sister? Etc. I asked her not to bother bringing me anything. I am writing all this very briefly because it is not my intention to write about such things, and I am doing so merely to dissuade souls from treating others in this way, for this is displeasing to the Lord. In a suffering soul, we should see Jesus crucified, and not a loafer or burden on the community. A soul who suffers with submission to the will of God draws down more blessings on the whole convent than all the working sisters. Poor indeed is a convent where there are no sick sisters. God often grants many and great graces out of regard for the souls who are suffering, and he withholds many punishments solely because of the suffering souls. O my Jesus, when shall we look upon souls with higher motives in mind? When will our judgments be true? You give us occasions to practice deeds of mercy, and instead we use the occasions to pass judgment. In order to know whether the love of God flourishes in a convent, one must ask how they treat the sick, the disabled, and the infirm who are there. September 10th, 1937. I learned in the course of meditation that the purer the soul, the greater her communion with God on the spiritual level. She pays little heed to the senses and their protests. God is a spirit, and so I love him in spirit and in truth. When I heard how dangerous it was to be at the gate these days because of revolutionary disturbances, and how many evil people have a hatred for convents, I went in and had to talk with the Lord and asked him to so arrange it that no evil person would dare come to the gate. Then I heard these words, "My daughter, the moment you went to the gate, I set a cherub over it to guard it. Be at peace." After returning from my conversation with the Lord, I saw a little white cloud, and in it a cherub with his hands joined. His gaze was like lightning, and I understood how the fire of God's love burns in that look. A lot going on today in our readings. Wow, so much. So, for one, Sister Faustina has gotten a new job. She used to work in the garden, and now she works at the gate. She calls it the desert of the gate. And in the back of my book, it says that the reason she calls it the desert is because that person spends most of their day away from the rest of the congregation. So it's like they've gone out into the desert. And I assume that the person at the gate greets anybody who's coming into the convent for any reason, and possibly takes in inquiries for food, or those that are in need that have come to the convent to maybe ask for alms, I would guess. I don't know exactly what their job is, but she has been moved. But the more interesting thing today is where she talks about how she is treated. And so I'm going to tell you a little story. I hope I haven't talked about this one before. On day 258, it's hard for me to remember everything that I have talked with you guys about in our reflections. So anyway, when my husband first joined the military, we were stationed in Dayton, Ohio. We have been there twice. And I got a job at the base legal office. And I was kind of working there through the summer until I started my master's degree. And I really didn't know what I was going to be doing. I'm a criminology major, so, working with legal stuff, is kind of up my alley. But I was going to be working in the front office. And my direct supervisor was the crabbiest, most grumpy person I think I've ever met in my life. Oh my gosh, she was so unpleasant. And she didn't want to do any work. She didn't want people to come in and bother her. She didn't want to have to answer phone calls. She literally wanted to sit there from 8:30 to 5 doing nothing. And the kind of services that we performed were like notaries and reading the wills and signing wills and all that stuff. The lawyers obviously made the wills and all that, but we handled the paperwork of it all and took, legal calls and got them to the correct lawyers for them to talk to. And we, set up appointments and such. So it wasn't a ton of work. There really was no reason for there to be two of us, but there was. And so in my first week, when anybody would come in, I would see my supervisor just treat them horribly. Just, why are you coming in here making me do work? And I just kind of slowly started taking over the role of being the one that greeted them. And so I would be the first up out of my chair to go to the window and ask them what they were there for and all that stuff, because she was so rude. It was so embarrassing. And after some time, I turned to her and I was like, why are you here? This job makes you so miserable and you hate doing this work. And she was just kind of baffled by that. And she would always kind of get mad at me if I would do more work than my job description called for. And I'm just one of those people. I just can't sit there. I have to be doing something. So I would clean, or I would ask the lawyers if there was anything they needed me to do. I would listen to people on phone calls, talk for a long time because there wasn't anything else to do. And I figured, hey, I can listen to people. And she would get really upset with me about all that. And I was like, well, I can't just sit here for 8 hours a day doing nothing and earning a paycheck and not doing anything. And this is our job. We should want to do what the job entails. And slowly, over time, she started to come around. Not completely, but she started to be a little more pleasant and a little less grumpy. And she would actually do her work with, somewhat of a happy heart. And I never, told her that she had to. Obviously, she was my supervisor. I was just trying to show her through my example that, this is our job and we should do it, and we should do it well, and we should, not get upset with people when they're coming here to get our help. That's why we're here. And so just reading through Sister Faustina's experiences today with these other sisters is, it's just, I know I've done it too, but it's just baffling. So the one sister who is in charge of the kitchen gets mad at her because she comes late to dinner. I imagine that this sister wants to get dinner served, get the kitchen cleaned up, and be done with the day. And here comes Sister Faustina waltzing in at the end, and now we have to wait. If any of you have ever worked in food service, like I have, the people that stroll in with like a minute left until you close just about drive you insane. So don't do that to people. I mean, I guess you can't because they're a business and they serve food, but just know that all the workers there really want to leave for the day. So I can understand this sister's, kind of irritation, because I've been there and I've had to wait on people who like come at the last minute and want a big old order taken down, and you just want to leave for the day. But still, that's your job. And you have to be understanding that, people have extenuating circumstances and maybe they can't get there right when you would like them to get there. And so then she's like, okay, I'm just not feeling good, so I'm going to go lie down. She asks the Mother Superior to go lie down. And another sister starts scolding her about going and lying down. And, what is it to you? She's not feeling well. It doesn't hurt you any. Why are you upset with her for not feeling well? It's very odd. But we all do that, don't we? We get mad at people for, taking time to heal. I think it's because we see them as slouches. And even Sister Faustina says they're not always trying to be loafers and be a burden to you. They just really don't feel good. And then the sister who is in charge of bringing food to the sick, the sister who is in charge of helping the sick, comes and gives Sister Faustina a piece of her mind. She says, why on earth are you going to bed, sister? And et cetera, et cetera. And Sister Faustina's just like, you know what? Don't bring me anything. I mean, if you can't bring it to me with a joyful heart and want to do your job, with a pleasantness about you, then I don't want anything. Just don't bring it to me. And we just see how people get so irritated in their job and in their work with other people. And it makes doing your job miserable. It just really does. I mean, the lady that I worked with, she was so unhappy. And once she started changing and, enjoying her job a little bit and wanting to help people and not being annoyed by them coming in and asking for her help, she started to get more happy. She was listening to music and dancing, and she'd crack jokes with me, and she started bringing me food, and she was a really good cook. And it just made her feel needed and wanted. And so, no matter what your vocation is, or no matter what your job is, whether you earn money, or you volunteer, or you work in the home, don't get upset with people for utilizing the services of your job. They're coming to you because that's the job that you do. And I get it. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you have people who about drive you crazy. And when you're at home all day with little ones begging, asking, it can be hard to deal with that all the time. But just remember, this is a service that you're providing to someone else. You are giving to them of your services. And we should do it with a joyful heart and not get annoyed at people. And when we do our job, no matter what it is, if we do it joyfully and we do it because, yes, I want to help people, I want to make this as easy as possible for the person coming to me, I want to be helpful to them. When we do that, it makes the job so much easier and so much more enjoyable, and everybody's happy, and then we don't have to deal with gripes and complaints, and we can just go through our day and feel very productive and very fruitful and very joyful. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 259 And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.